When you're in a sales environment, or you're preaching to someone, or you're telling them something, or you're trying to convince them to do essentially what it is that you're asking them to do, you've got to be considerate and really think essentially what the other side is going to feel like and or experience when you're pitching to them, when you're selling to them, when you're preaching to them, etc. And what I mean by that is, probably the best example is like real estate. So the past market was so hot, this past summer was so hot for real estate, that what people were doing is they're saying, okay, they were thinking with themselves and not with the buyer in mind. If they were going to sell a house, they were thinking from their own perspective of this market is really, really hot, and we'll sell, anything is selling, so we'll price it really high, and then if worst case scenario, what we'll do is we'll drop the price. The problem was, though, that they weren't thinking from a buyer's standpoint and thinking of what the buyer probably sees on the other end of things, and were actually ended up hurting themselves simply because they weren't thinking of what the effect was going to be of their delivery, if you will. So what naturally happened is that they thought, but they came in and the buyers looked at 3 other houses that were compared to this one house, and they were priced right. They were priced on what they call like the bridge, a little bit over, a little bit under, but they were priced right. So it created more of a buyer frenzy, more offers, and then therefore a higher price in the end, where they listed it for one price and ended up selling at a higher price, where the person that thought about only themselves and, okay, I'll get the market's really hot and everything, will buy it. They weren't thinking from that buyer's end of things. And because of that, the property stayed on the market longer. They ended up having to drop the price, most likely. Because they dropped the price, it became more of kind of like a stigmatic property, basically meaning like people start saying, well, these other ones sold really quickly. Why has this one been on the market as long? Basically what I'm saying is that you got to think with the other person that is receiving that message on the other end with them in mind, and think about how what you're saying affects them. And there's so many people that kind of go through life thinking like, well, who cares what anybody else thinks? But really, all we can really do is control the process. The person on the other end is controlling that decision. So we really just have to be cognizant of what that person is like on the other end of things, and essentially what our effect is going to be from our delivery.